So the next panel is going to discuss the commodity procurement as subnational. And to do justice to this topic, I want to first of all invite Pharmacist Ugochukwu from Federal Ministry of Health. I didn't see him. I don't know that he's around. Okay, it seems he's not here. The second panelist is the Honorable Commissioner of Health, Gombe State, Dr. Abu Dahiru. Can we put our hands together for him? Then we also have the Executive Secretary of the Jigawa State Primary Health Care Agency. Can we put our hands together for him? Dr. Shehu Sambo. Then we have Dr. Joachim Chijide from UNFPA. Famu Gochuku, you're welcome. Then Dr. Owen Smith. Dr. Owen Smith. Okay, Dr. Smith is not. Dr. Owen Smith is not here. Okay.
So thank you very much. I think we've done a brief introduction earlier on, so we'll just go straight into the questions. And so before we start this session, which is on commodities, and we know that we say in family planning that if there is no commodity, there is no program. So we have a brief presentation on commodity procurement, which you can see on the screen, and Pharmacist Ugochukwu will be taking that. So Pharmacist Ugochukwu, you have the floor, please.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much.
Okay. Pharmacist Ugochukwu, please, you have 5 minutes. Okay. We'll appreciate if you can do it within that time.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving me 5 minutes. This is like a follow-up from the introductory part of this section that Dr. Jagon gave us. So, next slide. Next. So, she talked about basket fund system. Many of us may not know what is basket fund system or basket fund initiative. It's a kind of a mechanism through which government and donors contribute money for the procurement of family planning commodities in Nigeria. And this was introduced in the year 2011. Dr. Jagon also told us about the survey UNFPA conducted. And after that survey comes the free commodities, and which follows the introduction of basket fund system. And the contributors are government, UNFPA, FCDO, BMG, BMGF, and few state governments. Then USAID and government of Canada contributed up to some point. And then that's what we call co-financial agreement was signed between the government of Nigeria and UNFPA to procure family planning for the country. Next slide. Okay. Now procurement and the gaps. When you look at this, you see 2022, 2023, that's no pointer, and 2024 here. The blue color is the required funds for the procurement after quantification. Now the red one or the green one is the ones available for the procurement. And then the red one is the gap. The first one is 2022, the second one 2023, while the last one is 2024, this year. So you can see the gap. Next slide. Now, this is the 2024 funding, the contributors. You can see what UNFPA contributed, which amount to 53% of the total contribution. FCDO, 13%, BMGF, 18%. The BMGF is for 3 states, Kanu, Kaduna, and Lagos. They're for 3 states. Now, FGO, Government of Nigeria, is 16%. And the states, we have 5 states that contributed for this year, amounted to 0.4%. Next slide. This is 2025 quantification that gave us the amount that's needed for the procurement. And this is the gap. So far, we have the gap of 29 million plus. And what we have at hand is 16 million plus. Next slide. Now, in our distribution, the long-haul distribution, we have first distribution for the year, second distribution for the year, and the third distribution for the year. Now, when you look at the blue one, that is 2023, while the red one is 2024. What are we showing here is other field rate. How have we been able to contend with what the states are requesting in terms of commodity? So, the blue one, like I said, is 2023. You can see we even did better than 2024. So out of what they requested, we were able to give this quantity of commodities. Next slide. Then when you take it by commodity, by method, you now see each of them, how we were able to meet up with each and every of the commodities. I can give you example like IUD. We were not able to distribute IUD in the second quarter. Then this microgynon and the Noristrat, the same, because we don't have what to distribute. Next slide. On the last mile, this is where issues lies. Because we will be able to distribute to the state, at the state store, but the problem now is how would this commodity move from the state store to the facilities is an issue. That's the problem, and that is what always causes stock out commodities in some of the facilities, apart from not having enough for the whole Nigeria. And this is the reporting period, the reporting rate. If you look at this side, the last one here is Abia State, followed by Bayelsa, Anambra, and so on. But in terms of reporting anyway, I can say family planning is a little bit doing well in terms of reporting. But there are some states that push us back by not doing well, which I've mentioned some of them here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Fam Oguchukwu. I think you deserve another round of applause. Honorable Commissioner of Health, Gombe State, we have seen the gaps, and I know Gombe is a pace setter in terms of the subnational procurement or subnational keying into the basket funding. And we still have seen it's just around 0.4% of the total procurement. First of all, how has Gombe been able to set the pace and start this process? And secondly, what more can we do in order to enhance the performance of state to ensure that that 0.4% has really been pushed upward from what we see here? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, first and foremost is for us to achieve any process, this procurement guideline need to be domesticated, and Gombe State has domesticated the procurement guidelines from the Federal Ministry of Health, and Gombe State adopted and adapted it in its system. So that helped to guide what activities, what actions will be taken. Secondly, having the guidelines, we now need funds. So for you to get funds, you must woo your principal. You must personally have a chat with him, educate him, explain the process to him so that he now becomes the driver of the program in the state. That's the governor. Once you get the concept right, then you're going to get everything from him. Of course, whatever you want to procure, if government need to put in some funds, there has to be a budget process. You must put it in the budget for it to see the light of the day. So you now you create a romance between your ministry and the Ministry of Budget and Planning and Ministry of Finance. Having done that, if you don't have a budget line, like we in the initial stage, I had to create a budget line for family planning. Now, this was done through a romance between the Ministry of Budget and Planning and Ministry of Finance. This is very, very key. Then you move further to the State House of Assembly and lobby. You have to lobby to ensure that budget proposals brought in are approved by the State House of Assembly and justified by maybe your data. Your data should be your number one advocacy tool. You have to develop an advocacy tool to go with data. Data speaks. And you present the data both to your principal, the governor, and the State Assembly to get them convinced that you need these funds desperately to reverse your trends. Everyone knows the data were low, and when I did that, I was able to convince my principal. I was able to also get the note from the State House of Assembly where the budget was approved. Now, having approved the budget, I now have a technical working group that will continue the advocacy sensitizations in various sectors. It's one thing to get the budget approved, and it's another to get it released. So when it is time for procurement, I ensured a right memo is sent not only to the governor, but on his accent to it, I now come down to the Ministry of Finance and the Accountant General to make sure that money is released and is put into the procurement process. Then our partnerships. We work very closely with all development partners that are in the state. And when we were doing the procurement process, we aligned with the UNFPA to ensure all commodities are made available and on time. Then the utilization becomes another area that we need to. You need to get relevant personnel trained to create demand, to also utilize the commodities as effectively as it should be to ensure that there is no, as you create demand, people will rush. And then when they come in and they are stock out, it's another problem. You ensure that there is no stock out, and you supervise the process of implementation. Another area I also, to get more money for procurement and for this was to engage our state contributory scheme. The Gombe State Contributory Scheme, that's our health insurance program. Hitherto, there are some lives that we need to buy for the basic healthcare provision for the vulnerables. But I now got members of the National Assembly, the House of Representatives, the senators. I said, when they were giving out palliatives, I said, please buy lives. It's another palliative. Instead of you coming to give this person 100,000 for medical bills or this, why don't you buy life for him under the health insurance scheme? And now he accessed that. And under the health insurance scheme, we made sure family planning is also included in that. And the package from the health insurance and from the lives that we are getting, we are able to get more people have access to family planning because the members of the National Assembly and were able to buy lives for their constituents who are not able to. We have a program where under the health insurance, the formal workers, the formal sector, the civil servants are registered. Then the informal sector, like the Keke Napep guys, the market women, the other things. So those group of persons, we encourage the National Assembly members to buy lives, and through that, the money is added to the family planning procurement commodities.
Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Honorable Commissioner, and thank you for sharing those insights and walking us through the budget process and other innovative approaches you used. So I'll turn to Dr. Sambo, the Executive Secretary in Jigawa. So what are some of the implications of state procurement of FP commodities, and what opportunities exist, and how has Jigawa set the pace for commodity security, especially looking at the challenges of the last mile distribution?
Okay, thank you very much. Let me give a little background. Jigawa State is actually located in the northwestern part of Nigeria, where there is the largest number of women of childbearing age, if you take the regions of Nigeria. And Jigawa, we have close to 1.8 million women of childbearing age. Before the NDHS 2018, we never had even 1% CPR. It was in 2018, we had 3.9%. 2023, they recently released 3.6%. And Jigawa State has the highest total fertility rate, even though it came down. Now we have every woman should give birth to close to 7 children. So you can imagine the relationship. Dwarfed CPR, high fertility rate, that is a recipe for, let me call it, disaster. That is why we are in the situation that we are in. And any responsible government, let me use that word, should be able to really look at this and, tackle the issue. So our story regarding procurement started even during the days of the Saving 1 Million Lives program for results. In the year 2020, we actually procured family planning consumables, not commodities. So we used that. Then 2022, we started a process to procure family planning commodities to augment the supply from the national. We are actually in a vicious cycle as a state. Dwarfed supply from the national, the UNFPA, we saw what they supply based on consumption. We have a dwarfed consumption, and they will supply us based on that need. So we are in that. So the state thought, okay, let's procure, maybe we'll prop up our CPR, and then we'll force the national to give us more commodities. But actually, what we procured was too small to maybe make an impact from the service that we had. We actually followed the long process of identifying a social marketing firm from the country. We linked to our drug supply company, but we procured family planning commodities worth 40 million naira, coupled with post-abortion care commodities, making a purchase of about 20 million. But that, the process was so cumbersome. So that is why when these guidelines came now, we are going to domesticate those guidelines. The Gombe State Honorable Commissioner has said that. I think it's easier to do that and probably cheaper. So I think, please, the House is here. These commodities are actually needed. Why is it that we have a monopoly of commodities? Why are some states that want to buy commodities have to struggle? Why is it that the way we buy surgical commodities, that we open somebody's stomach and do cesarean section, we go and buy those commodities, readily available, but simple things are family planning commodities for willing subnationals. You have processes, you have names all over the place to follow, and this is a big issue. So please, this House should demonopolize the purchase of family planning commodities, learning from them. So maybe because of time, I will stop
Thank
here.
you very much, Dr.
Thank
Sambo.
you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Joachim, UNAPA has been providing technical assistance to Nigerian government on this process. And there are two sides of the coin. Gombe procured through the UNAPA procurement system. Jigawa tried to procure through a social marketing firm. And I'm sure everybody clearly will hear the frustration from Jigawa. Why can't I buy family planning commodity like I buy paracetamol? Why is it difficult to get family planning commodity in open market in Nigeria? UNAPA, what can be done differently in order to guide states appropriately to ensure the commodity procurement are seamless so that states will be motivated to procure more commodities for their citizens? Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for that question. Let me start by saying that it's important to congratulate the states that have been able to procure, and let me start by mentioning those states. So I think over the last year or so, there's been a remarkable interest in procurement of contraceptives. In 2018, the first interest indicated for the procurement of contraceptives came from Kaduna and Lagos State to the then Honorable Minister of Health. And he gave his speedy approval. Now, in order to initiate that process, we know that hitherto, all procurements were being done centrally by the Federal Ministry of Health. We also clearly understood that this was not a sustainable way of financing, and it wouldn't get us to where we were going because the gaps had already started emerging. Gaps of the order of about $20 million, and that trajectory has been maintained since 2018 up until now. So it became important to have those guidelines. And those guidelines are actually they are documents that were developed collaboratively with all the states. So if you look at that document, it's actually a very comprehensive and beautiful document, because if you look at the document, you can see all of the stakeholders who were part of that process and who signed it off. And that included all of the states, a lot of development partners, etc. So the guidelines provide a very clear way for states to procure. And it includes procuring by contribution to the basket fund. It includes a third-party procurement process, which means that the states can actually approach UNFPA and be directly linked to a purchasing process, which gives them access to manufacturers. And then the final process would be states that are willing to procure through UNFPA. So far we have 6 states that have done this. And that, for me, is already remarkable progress, and it's something we should celebrate. So states that have used the guidelines are 6 states. And let me quickly mention those states. Lagos, Ogun State, Delta State, Adamawa State, Rivers State, and Gombe, certainly, which was the first state. So those states have been successful with that. And I believe that, that we have the experience that these states can procure, and this is something that other states can do. I should say that other states are also already indicating interest. I'm aware of 3 or 4 other states that have indicated interest so far. The frustration that, that is being expressed, I think, is interesting, and it's something that we should think of as stakeholders. I would say that commodities are not being manufactured in this country, and it is something that the Honorable Minister of Health, Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, is working on via the PVAC initiative. And this is something that UNFPA is supportive of, and all stakeholders should be supportive of. Let me, however, state something that I think is a missed opportunity. There's a missed opportunity in terms of states procuring and not actually revealing this information. I'm aware that some states are procuring outside of the guidelines and are not providing that information to the stakeholders. This deprives the country of a certain opportunity to draw down from what we call a match fund. That match fund, the country was able to draw down to that an additional $2 million on commodities. So if we aggregate this information and make it available to the Federal Ministry of Health, what will happen is that that information can be useful to us to attract more resources, as Jigawa State has also mentioned. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. So thank you very much. I think you've been able to listen to the federal government, to the representative of federal government, and also the states have spoken, and UNFPA, who is the procurement agent for government, has actually spoken. You know, definitely, I said earlier on, there's a gap, that exists when it comes to procurement of commodities. So we have to look at other innovative ways in which we can actually get funds. And the states are ready to procure commodities. And the options, there are very options available to them. You've signed a document which provides guidelines on how you can procure documents, but it's just contextualizing it. Should we go through the UNFPA basket funds, which brings commodities? I'm sure if you look at it may be cheaper because they do pool procurement at the global level, and there are waivers attached to them when they get to the nation in terms of freights that they have to pay. And also for social marketing is like a subsidized commodities. And I think we need to go back to the survey, and I said the survey of 2011. It mentioned in there about this, that we should look at the socioeconomic quintiles. The lowest of them all are not able to afford commodities, so they would definitely need free commodities. But the people in the middle, they have some level of money, so the subsidized one will be available to them. Then there are some on top, that are wealthy, that stay in Asokoro, stay in Victoria Island. Even if you give them free commodities, they will think it's an insult to them. So they may go to the full commercial, market. So that's what we call about total market approach. And I can tell you, all what we have been doing, UNFPA, social marketing, the commercial sector has just been able to get us to just 15%. So there's still a wide gap in which we have not been able, to fill. So all hands must be on deck to see how there's a gap, there's an opportunity, low-hanging fruit for us, in which we have about 21% of today of unmet needs. It means that people that actually want the commodities are not able to get it. So there should be a collaborative effort from everybody, whether they are the rich in terms of the well quantized, the rich people, the middle, or the lower people that are downtrodden, in making sure that we're able to reach them. Free commodities, there are people that want the free commodities. They clamor for it because they want it. The social marketers, people want to go into probably the PPMVs and able to get commodities on demand. And the full commercial, they want to get to Reddington Hotel. They want to go to Lagoon of this world. They want to go to, big hospitals and get the care there to be able to get these commodities. So whichever one they want, we think we need to contextualize it and make sure that it really happens. But really, there's a gap in commodity procurement, and that's what I want the federal government of Nigeria, the state government to actually look at. They are doing well in Gombe and Jigawa, and it's something that we could use as a proof of concept for other states to actually copy. We'll stop here for now, and the discussion can continue online. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much. So we'll do the panel photo, the group photo. So please, photographers, can you kindly oblige us, please, for the group photo? And after that, we'll go straight to the next session, still anchored by the chair, co-chair. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much.